Hello and welcome to Jessie Bear Book Club. We like to talk about historical fiction, wild cards, Game of Thrones, and much, much more. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Today, I want to talk about the missing swords from Winterfell's Crypts. Everybody agrees it is an important plot device, but people cannot agree why. It is obviously very important because it is brought up many times throughout the story. It is even brought up in Ned's first POV chapter.
By ancient custom, an iron longsword had been laid across the lap of each who had been the Lord of Winterfell, to keep the vengeful spirits in their crypts. The oldest had long ago rusted away to nothing, leaving only a few red stains where the metal had rested on stone. Ned wondered if that meant those ghosts were free to roam the castle now. He hoped not. The first lords of Winterfell had been men hard as the land they ruled. In the centuries before the dragon lords came over the sea, they had sworn allegiance to no man, styling themselves the kings in the north.
We know George R.R. Martin has drawn a lot of influence from Irish mythology when creating his world. And we know the White Walkers are based on the Sidhe of Irish legend. And I am an Irish girl with two very superstitious parents, and iron plays a large part in that superstition. In Irish mythology, iron is put above doorways to keep fairies out of your home, where they create mischief. My own father, no matter where we lived, always hung a horseshoe above the door to keep the fairies out. And I have one in my own home right now. Fairies, or the Fae in Irish mythology, are not nice creatures. They cause harm within your home, playing pranks, causing mistrust, stealing babies, and they can even set your house on fire. The last case in Ireland where someone was accused and then killed for being a fairy changeling was in 1895, so people still take this stuff very seriously. I believe George R.R. Martin is using a similar premise, where iron swords are keeping something out. But it is not the White Walkers as most people think. I believe it is the Children of the Forest. I subscribe to the theory that the Children of the Forest are seeking revenge for what men have done to their world, and that the caves Bran now finds himself in beyond the wall actually link up to the crypts below Winterfell. If you want to know more about this theory, you should check out Quinn's Ideas. He has a really great video on the subject and I will link it in the description below. There is also the small fact that the Children of the Forest never fought using steel weapons. Is this because they do not have the technology to make steel? Or is it because steel holds some power over them because it is man-made, and they only use naturally sourced materials such as wood and obsidian? There is also the lack of reasoning behind why Bran, Hodor, and Meera take the swords from the crypts. Bran is a cripple with no use for a sword. Meera already has a frog spear and net she can use, and she's rather small. Surely a sword would be too heavy for her. The weight problem being the reason why Arya has a needle instead of a great sword. Hodor, you can maybe understand taking a sword, but it is pointed out more than once that Hodor is a pacifist and scared of physical violence. There is also the fact that Bran does not mention the swords until a storm of swords. Why would he not mention them when they were in the crypts?
The stable boy had forgotten about his sword, but he remembered. "Hodor!" he burped. He went for his blade. They had 3 tomb swords taken from the crypts of Winterfell, where Bran and his brother Rickon had hidden from Theon Greyjoy's iron men. Bran claimed his uncle's Brandon's sword Meera, the one she found upon the knees of his grandfather, Lord Rickard. Hodor's blade was much older, a huge heavy piece of iron, dull from centuries of neglect and well spotted with rust. There was a rotted tree near the tumbled stones that he had hacked half to pieces. He could swing it for hours at a time.
Would not this piece of the story fit in better when they're in the crypts? unless they were influenced to take the swords from an outside force, perhaps Bloodraven. Or did Jojen have a green dream sent by the children of the forest and convince his friends to take the swords? The swords are also very heavy, so why, if they were unnecessary, would you go to the trouble of taking them on such a long journey, from Winterfell to north of the Wall, when instead you could carry warmer clothes or more food? Why not simply leave the swords behind? The number of swords they choose to take is also a little odd. Why did Osha not take a sword? They chose only to take 3 swords. There is a lot of magical significance when it comes to the number 3 in Irish mythology. The number 3 signifies the Triskel, a figure composed of 3 spirals or 3 women, depending on who you ask. It signifies the 3 layers of the human soul and the 3 primary elements, earth, fire, and water. The primary elements are represented in A Song of Ice and Fire by 3 magical races. The children of the forest represent earth, the Targaryens represent fire, and the White Walkers represent water, and I don't think this is merely a coincidence. 1 sword for each race. That makes sense to me. My theory is the children of the forest need the swords to complete a magical ritual. Irish folktales are full of magic objects, such as magical shoes for swifter walking, magic cloaks for invisibility, a magic key to open any door. Will stark steel and stark blood help open a door within the caverns? Perhaps like the Black Gate? Will the children of the forest use Bran and the swords to complete a ritual, and then they will be able to enter Winterfell again, rising up out of the crypts to slay everybody in their bed? I would not put it past those scary little 3-fingered creatures. While researching to create this video, I came across a very interesting sword from Irish mythology that really struck a note. Colum Salasis, the sword of Nuala, the king of the gods in Irish mythology. In legend, the sword glowed with the light of the sun, and nobody could stand before it in battle, having the power to cut an enemy in half. Doesn't that sound a lot like Lightbringer? The sword of Azor Ahai? Perhaps the oldest of the Stark swords brought north will become the new Lightbringer, after the children of the forest do their magic on it. They may use this super weapon to bargain with the humans, once the White Walker threat becomes extremely grave, or they may think that if they hold the ultimate weapon, that the humans will have no chance of success. Who knows? I just hope Bran doesn't have to plunge the sword through Meera's heart or anything else. Bran has gone through enough without having to murder his childhood crush. There is a lot to think about regarding these swords, and I think Theon Greyjoy summed it up best.
Theon did not recall which king it was, but the long sword he should have held was gone. Streaks of rust remained to show where it had been. The sight disquieted him.
I have a very strong suspicion that these swords are going to come into play in the Winds of Winter in a very big way. But what do you think? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. And as always, this is just my opinion. Please remember to help out and like this video if you enjoyed it. You can also follow me on Instagram at Lady Jessica Riddell and on Twitter at Jessams. I post on Twitter regularly about my videos. If you want to see more book reviews, character comparisons and fan theories, please subscribe to Jessie Bear Book Club. I try to post a new video at least once a week. See you next time on Jessie Bear Book Club. Bye!